Hello everyone, and welcome to a new video of the WASBE Worldwide Wins. My name is Björn, and I'm from the Netherlands, conductor and artistic manager of the WMC in Kerkrade, and also a proud member of WASBE since 2016. In this video, I'm going to introduce to you a well-renowned composer for wind bands and ensembles. He lives at the moment in the United States, but he is a Dutchman and grew up with the symphonic wind orchestra scene that we have here in the Netherlands. Welcome, Johan de Meij.
Thank you, Björn. Nice to talk to you.
Johan, we are going to talk a little bit about your current activities as a composer and the influences this COVID-19 pandemic has on your work and inspiration at the moment. And I'd like to talk to you about your recent big symphony for wind band, your fifth symphony, Return to Middle Earth. We are going to talk about that symphony a bit later, but first tell me a bit about your relationship maybe with WASBE.
Well, I've been a member since day one. The very first conference was in Manchester, in the United Kingdom, and it was 1980 or 1981, I'm not sure, but that means that I'm a member for 40 years now, and a proud member. I've always loved WASBE. I've made many friends throughout the years, friends for life. And at the first conference, I met legendary people like Timothy Reinisch and John Bourgeois, Joseph Horowitz, the composer, Paul Yoder was there, Toshio Akiyama, and they're all still friends, for the ones who are still alive, of course. Yeah. I've been to the majority of the WASBE conferences. I skipped a few, but I've been to most of them, and it's always a joy. It's like a reunion with friends, sort of like the Midwest Clinic. It's a business thing, but you know so many people, and there's a lot of laughing and friendships. So yeah, WASBE has been very important for me during my career.
Yeah, great to hear. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we still find ourselves in this current COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, we all hope that this will end soon and we can pick up our musical activities as we were used to. How did you survive and experience last year, and especially the first months of this pandemic? Did it influence your work as a composer a lot? Could you still find some inspiration to write something?
Well, the first month, so mid-March to mid-April, I was completely in shock and paralyzed. I didn't do anything. I didn't write music. I was just depressed because of what was happening to our beautiful world, And I had a wonderful agenda with concerts all over the world. They were, of course, all gone. And right now, they're still canceling or postponing the concerts in 2021. It's what it is. But after a month or so, I found myself and I started on some commissions that I had. And that gave me pleasure and gave me the energy to survive. So since then, I've been super productive, because that's the only thing I can do right now is write music. No traveling, no conducting, couple of Zoom meetings, that's all. So I've written close to 3 hours of music since then, which is extraordinary, because my normal production is like half an hour, 40 minutes of music a year, and now it's like fivefold. So I've done some original works. A symphonic poem called The Painted Bird, which was a commission here in the US. I wrote a piece for the Dutch Marine Band for their 75th anniversary called Rotterdam 1945. I wrote a baritone saxophone concerto called Mondrian for a good friend of mine, Henk van Twillert. Mm-hmm. And then I did several arrangements, most of them just for fun. One of them is part 2 of the Romeo and Juliet suite by Prokofiev, and part 3 is in the making.
So you're going back to your roots, because in the beginning of your
exactly, yeah,
you were a lot of you did a lot of transcriptions for wind band in the beginning.
Yeah, and I still love to do that. And
Yeah.
I did a 15 minutes Mendelssohn arrangement of the Midsummer Night's Dream.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm just finishing up 3 suites of piano music by Eric Satie. What else did I do? I re-edited an old arrangement from the 80s called James Bond 007.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it went out of print, but I was able to get the rights back, so it will be republished, fortunately.
Oh,
so I'm very happy with that.
So
yeah, that's what I've done, and many more small things. I wrote I arranged a piece for Italian bands called Rinascerò, Rinascerai, which means I'll be reborn, you'll be reborn, written by a famous Italian singer, Robby Faccinetti, and he sings. It was done for the people of Bergamo, where he's from. So it was a COVID-related song. That's what I did. So yeah, I've been very productive, thank God, and I will continue to be, because it's my savior. It keeps me sane. So
yeah, and I hope we will get the time soon that we can also play all this music.
Exactly. Yeah, I didn't go into writing for small ensembles, because this will go away one day. It takes much longer than we could hope for, but we will be back to normal someday.
Absolutely.
And then we can play these pieces. So I've only been writing for just large instrumentations, and so.
Yeah. Okay. Good to hear. Well, Johan, as you know, I'm a very big Tolkien fan.
I know.
You know that. I read all the books multiple times, from the Silmarillion over to The Hobbit, and of course The Lord of the Rings. And I still watch the films made by Peter Jackson with the great soundtracks of Howard Shore. And in 2013, and that's already 8 years ago, we celebrated the 25th anniversary of your first symphony, The Lord of the Rings. Where I still have this.
There you go. Yeah, in Brussels.
Special edition.
Yeah, I had the honor to conduct the band who played the very first world premiere, the band of the Royal Belgium Guides.
Yeah.
Fantastic. One of the best bands in Europe by far.
Absolutely.
Then conducted by Norbert Nozy, but in 2013 I had the honor to conduct them myself, which was a great joy.
Yeah, great. And you conducted it with the U.S. Marine Band, the President's Own.
Yes, 5 years later, the 30th anniversary. So I make sure we celebrate every 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was also an amazing experience.
It's a symphony that took you almost 4 years to compose, and has a total playing time of 45 minutes. And nowadays, in our world of wind music, 45 minutes is nothing special anymore. But at that time, in the 80s, that was something a composer of wind music never wrote before. Yes,
it was quite revolutionary. And when I was telling people, when I was working on it, and when I told people that I was writing a 45-minute symphony for winds, everybody said, "Are you crazy? Nobody's going to play that. It's too long."
Yeah.
And my standard answer would be, well, I know pieces of 4 minutes that are too long, in my opinion. That's very cynical, but...
Yeah, but a lot of us know the piece very well. A lot of us conducted it multiple times and love it. So do I. I can't get enough of it. And for me, it's part of the standard repertoire of wind orchestras that we all should study and know about.
Yeah.
So 30 years after The Lord of the Rings, you literally returned to Middle-earth to compose a new symphony with 6 movements, but now based on different stories, and expanding the wind orchestra with special instruments, effects, a soprano singer, and a big choir. How that happened, and what was the moment you decided to revisit the world of Middle-earth?
The reason was I was asked by the University of Valparaiso, Indiana, here in the US. They were planning to have a big Tolkien conference. And I've been working with their wind orchestra, their university orchestra, several times. So I knew the people, and the librarian of the university is even a bigger Tolkien fan than you are. He knows everything, he was organizing the thing. So he asked me personally, would you consider to write another Tolkien-related piece. He didn't say symphony. That was my idea. And so I said, yeah, you know what? Let me think about it. Because I never wanted to write Lord of the Rings Part 2, you know. But when I started to think about it, I said, you know what? I'd love to go back to where it all started, to Middle-earth, sort of literally. But I really wanted to do something completely different. So I didn't use Lord of the Rings as the source, but the Silmarillion. Most of the movements.
There's it. I have the score here.
Yeah. So the Silmarillion is happens prior to Lord of the Rings. So the sequel of my symphony actually is chronologically not correct, but that doesn't matter.
No, and we will talk about that aspect maybe a little bit later.
So I sat down and I just started to study the symphony again. I have a piano score as well, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to use very little material from the Lord of the Rings to sort of make the connection, and then the rest will be new material. So then I came up with the idea to use a soprano solo and a choir, and I found beautiful texts, and they're all in an Elvish language called Elcorim.
Yeah.
The reason, to give it an Elvish, Tolkienish atmosphere, and it sounds beautiful. I mean, no idea what they're singing, but it sounds.
Let's talk about that Elcorim language a little bit later on, and maybe that we first going to listen and see kind of first impression of the first 2 minutes of the first movement, Miri na Feanor, the Jewels of Feanor.
Right.
And we can show that to you all now. So that was the first bars, the first impression of the first movement, Johan.
Yeah, as you can hear, I tried to make the jewels of Feanor audible by using a lot of bells and
harp, celeste, percussion.
Anything sort of that sounds like a jewel. And even in the orchestra, like the tubas have nothing to play in the beginning, so they're all playing triangles and finger cymbals.
Oh yeah.
As much as possible. That you've done the symphony in Germany.
It's a great effect, and because I had a big band, I had 90 people, so I had a lot of people not playing like 5 or 6 tubas, and I decided to with 30 clarinets, I decided to have a few clarinet players play triangles in different
Exactly.
sizes.
Anything that sounds sort of in the diamond range, like wind chimes and everything. So yeah, that's a nice effect, I think.
Yeah, well, as you told us before, the time period of the musical story of the Fifth Symphony is before the First Symphony, where the Fifth Symphony is inspired, as you told us, on the story and characters of the Silmarillion. Is there any musical connection between the First and the Fifth Symphony?
There is. There's 2 chords that basically is the material for the Fifth Symphony, which is those 2 chords. That's F major with a G, and then E flat major with an F. And I keep looping them. These also appear in the First Symphony. You may remember in Gandalf.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 and in Hobbits, bum, 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 bum. Same chords, yeah. So these I use as a sort of a leitmotif, although it's not a motif, the light chord, so to speak. And another thing I borrowed from the symphony is the horn call from the 4th movement, Journey in the Dark, when the orcs are approaching. It's yeah, and I use this quite extensively in the 5th movement. It goes all over the place. There's a backstage horn who are answering, but we'll talk about that later. That's the war movement. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we listened already to the soprano and the choir in the moment that we had the first movement, and they are singing in the Elvish language, Ilkhurin, one of the languages of Middle Earth. And later on in the symphony, you also make use of the black speech for the orcs and the other thugs. How did you get access to all these languages? And did you get any help from people in, for example, the right pronunciation for the singers?
Yes, I was lucky to find a woman in Cleveland. Her name is Eileen Mary Moore. She's a linguist. And she speaks the language. She's also a singer. So that was extremely helpful because I had those poems in English that she translated into Ilkhurin, I should say. And then I of course needed to know where the syllables go, where the accents are, the heavy and but she was able to tell me that. But so I used the text to come up with the melodies. The text was first, and I based the melodies on the rhythm of the text. So, but again, she was extremely helpful, and she has corrected all my scores, because she can read music. That was good too. So yeah, that was very helpful. I actually have a recording to help the singers or the soprano. She recorded all the poems in Elvish.
Oh,
I can play a little bit for you.
Yeah.
This is from the movement Tenuviel.
The second movement, yeah.
The second movement, yeah. So that's her voice.
Lucien Tenuviel. Im Guatad. Man turunen bachnin nabanos. Gurth armeleth firin. Im agorant nad, I bellain u agor, egor goda legolu.
I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. I
it
think
was very inspiring.
Will recognize this from the movies.
Yeah.
And
there's certain pronunciations, like the sort of the slit sounds, which is quite unique. And there are actually like 11 or 12 different elf languages, and they're all made up. Tolkien started himself. He started it making his own language, which was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then other people followed, and
yeah, great. Well, maybe it's good that we listen to the last part of the second movement, Tenuviel, the Nightingale, where the soprano and the choir do a kind of declamation So spoken text without pitch
Right.
in the Elvish language. And that is followed by a beautiful a cappella section and the ending of this movement.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite sections. The ending of the second movement gives me chills.
Let us listen to it.
Okay.
Dat mabin beren niet roenen, arminon ut roenen.
That was the second movement, the ending of the second movement. The third movement is all about the dragon and Calagon the Black.
Yes.
He was the greatest and biggest of Morgoth's winged dragons. And you know that I did the German premiere of the symphony with my Landesblasorchester Baden-Württemberg. And my saxophone section really loved to imitate the screaming of the dragon on their mouthpieces. And I remember that we experimented a lot with the direction and the projection of the sound to get the best possible result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before we are going to listen and see a bit of the score of this movement, I have a question about the bassoon solo. Because after the first musical flight of the dragon, you wrote a kind of lamentoso cadenza for the solo bassoon, going up to a high E flat.
Yes.
With a lot of vibrato and effects. Can you explain a bit about the idea behind this?
Yeah, definitely. So, Calagon Imor is his Elvish name, is by far the largest animal in the whole Tolkien history, you know, of his fantasy world.
Of the dragons, yeah.
Yeah, he was as big as a Boeing 747, you know, to give you an idea with the white span. So it's a huge animal, but I came up with a crazy idea to give him a very high-pitched voice. I don't know why. So in the middle of the movement, I mean, before that, he's just, you hear him fly, you know.
Yeah.
And then he sort of, I see him sitting down on a rock and just go, and just thinking about, and then he comes up with this funny voice. It's a little bit like Gollum there.
Yeah.
It's a comparison certainly with Gollum because of the high bassoon solo, which I love, by the way. I've used this before in Casanova. You know, there's also this crazy high bassoon solo.
Your cello concerto, yeah.
Yes, on purpose. The idea actually came from Stravinsky, the Symphony of Winds. You know, that I love that. It's way out of the range of the bassoon. It's playable, but and the bolero,
the solo of the Sacre du Printemps.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the story behind that little cadenza. What it is, what sort of is in the middle of the third movement.
Yeah.
And this is instrumental. There's no choir, no singing.
No.
Just orchestra.
Yeah. It's a great movement, and well, we can listen to it directly. We're going to listen to the part in the movement where you can hear the screaming of the dragons by the saxophones. which goes really through the orchestra. And then after that, the first bars of the bassoon solo.
Okay.
Okay, so here we are now at the fourth movement, and in the fourth movement, Johan, we can listen to the soprano singing from the back of the stage or the hall, and then slowly walking back to the podium, and she is singing the song of Arwen Undomiel, the Even Star. And for the people who didn't read the books but did see the films of the Lord of the Rings, they will remember Lady Arwen as the direct descendant of Tinuviel, the Tinuviel of the second movement of your symphony, and also being the daughter of Elrond. So as we all know, she was the spouse of Aragorn at the end of the Third Era, and as a queen of Gondor, became mortal, as did her ancestress Tinuviel.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I think there is a connection between the second and the third movement because of the backgrounds of these two women. But can you tell us a bit more about this connection and about the song that Arwen is singing in this last movement? Because you are also using the choir there as a kind of faraway call to Arwen, naming her the Even Star.
Yeah. Undomiel is Even Star. Huh?
Yeah.
So actually, movement 2, 4, and 6 are all connected. So the last movement, Turing Vithi, is also, they're all female personas from the book, which is interesting because Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion is sort of a man's world, you know, there are very few women. Yeah. But on purpose, I did this because of the soprano soloist, you know, to have her voice singing 3 different characters from the book. Yeah. And so at the end, the choir is singing, while the soprano sings something else, they are scanning Undomiel.
Yeah, so they are reacting on the choir. She's reacting on the choir. Yeah. That's a great moment, I think, in this fourth movement. We can listen maybe to a small passage from this movement.
Okay.
Where the choir is acting as the departed elf folk to Valinor, and they call upon Arwen and naming her Even Star, and the soprano reacts, as you said, at the end of this movement on this call, with the last words of this Ilkrin poem.
Right.
Okay, that was the end of the fourth movement about Arwen. We're going to the fifth movement, Dagor de Lothrin, the War of Wrath. The fifth movement of your symphony is describing one of the biggest battles of Middle-earth happening in the First Era, a battle where elves and men join forces in destroying Morgoth's demons and legions of orcs. And you begin this movement with calls and signals, horn signals, positioned off stage and around the concert hall. And I think it gives an absolutely great effect at the beginning of the battle.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I love it, you wrote org drums.
Yeah.
I can tell you that every percussion player that I work with on this symphony was so enthusiastic on playing these org drums.
Yeah.
In Germany, we experimented with different kind of stakes, with different sizes of metal drums, the positioning, etc., just to get this special and horrifying sound.
Yeah. My idea was to I wanted big drums, you know, the orcs. I mean, they're ugly, horrible people, so they don't have small instruments. So I came up with oil drums, empty oil drums.
Yeah.
And not drumsticks, no, broomsticks, this thick.
Yeah.
And well, the effect is amazing. And
yeah, it's amazing.
They're placed in a half circle behind the orchestra, and there are 4 different parts. And well, it's really gives this war effect, you know, like the troops are approaching, and then of course the horn call is the call from the first movement of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. But that org drum, for me personally, the org drums, the first time that I heard org drums was actually in the film music of Howard Shore.
Oh, really?
You have the Caverns of Isengard, where you have this trombone team, ba ba bum 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 bum, and then you have those org drums he used in the original film musicals.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't steal it from him. I
didn't steal it. No. Because I wanted to ask you if Howard Shore maybe influenced you a little bit on this movement.
No, not at all.
Totally not.
I wonder if I have influenced him a bit. I don't know. I'm sure he must have heard the symphony. But
yeah.
Anyway, there are more special effects in this fifth movement. In the choir. The choir, the soprano has nothing. She doesn't sing in this movement. But the choir does almost everything except singing. There's only 2 chords, the 2 chords, you know, the 2 light chords that they're singing. For the rest, they're whispering, shouting. The men are the bad guys, of course. They're scanting Elvish or black tongue.
Black speech, yeah.
Black speech.
And the rocks. I mean, how did you come on the idea to use real rocks?
Yeah, big natural stones.
Yeah.
And the effect is amazing. Of course, not all the entire choir, because they also have to hold the music. So it's usually half the choir that half the the singers are using the rocks. But all the choir members have to make steps. At the very end, it's like a troop of soldiers coming by. They go.
Yeah, we have a fragment of that, Johan, where you conducted it yourself with another orchestra in Germany. After the premiere, there was an orchestra, another orchestra that performed the work, the symphony.
Yeah.
And they asked you as a guest conductor. And we have some video material of that concert, where we start at the moment that the members of the choir, as you told us, march on the spot like soldiers. Right. And then the battle builds up to a musical, chaotic. Those are the last couple of minutes of the fifth movement. So yeah, it would be nice if we can play that. Yeah, let's see that now.
Okay.
Okay, that was the impressive the whole battle. Yeah. So with the story of Turing Rattle, the vampire servant of Morgoth, we come to the end of this interview and the end of the Fifth Symphony. Johan, in the last movement, you described the quest of Tinuviel, who used the skin of the vampire to steal the jewels of Feanor from Morgoth's crown.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a last song for the soprano in this movement where she sings about the woman of shadow and her story. And it looks like a few things come together in this last movement. What's the story about this?
To be very honest, I don't know.
Okay, but yeah, it's the last movement symphony. And
I don't know exactly the. I mean, I know the poem, but to tell the relationship with movement 2 and 4, I can't tell you. I think you can.
Yeah, well, we were talking before about the connection between the second and the fourth movement, and of course the sixth movement. Mm-hmm. Where in the sixth movement, Tinuviel is using the skin of Turing Rattle, of this vampire.
Yeah, to disguise herself and to steal the jewels. Yeah.
So everything comes to an end there. Well, good. Johan, thank you very much for your time to talk with me about this symphony.
Pleasure.
The symphony has been performed already in the USA, in Japan, Germany, I know, the Netherlands.
Yes.
I will do the Belgium premiere hopefully next year myself.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Do you know of more countries that are planning a premiere after this pandemic is over?
There was the Swiss premiere was planned, but was cancelled or postponed. I am doing actually 4 concerts in July, hopefully in Mexico.
Ah, Mexico.
Together with Oscar Navarro. He will do his first symphony, which is amazing, by the way, fantastic piece. And I will do the Fifth Symphony. And other than that, right now, as you know, nobody's planning, everybody's waiting till the storm is over. So, but I'm sure when things are back to normal, then it will come back. And oh, by the way, next weekend, I'm conducting on Colagon. I have a concert. Can you believe it?
Oh, okay.
I have a concert, yeah, with the Heart of Texas concert band. There will all be social distance. It's in the big cathedral, big church.
Yeah.
And the whole concert is with my music. Their conductor, Mark Rogers, will do Lord of the Rings, and I will do the second half.
Great.
Including Colagon to make the connection between 1 and 5. So
yeah, that gives a little bit more hope, hopefully, for everybody to hear some live music again.
There is hope, Björn. There is hope.
Thank you very much, Johan. In name of our WASBE community and the world of wind bands in general, thank you very much. And we will end this interview with the last moments of the symphony, the symphony that I can recommend to everyone, Return to Middle-earth. Goodbye and stay in touch with us because every month there will be a new WASBE worldwide wind video of one of my colleagues from the WASBE board.
It's a nice initiative, yeah. And I'll see you definitely in Kerkrade in 2021 and all of the WASBE members in Prague. I will definitely come to that.
Absolutely.
They're together, so you can go to Prague and then do the third weekend of World Music Contest. So
you can combine the two of them. So that's
okay.
Great.
Thank you, Björn. Stay well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.